The law that changed women's rights, a Kirralie Smith Investigation, Ep.2, when a citizen became the collision point. What happens when a citizen raises a concern that powerful institutions no longer want questioned? What happens when legislation, bureaucracy, sporting policy, media narratives and activist pressure all converge on the same issue? Most people see the public controversy. Few see the pressure system underneath it. Fewer still understand what it feels like to stand in the middle of it. This episode examines how Kirralie Smith became a focal point in a national conflict between sex-based rights, institutional policy and gender identity activism after the 2013 legal changes. When the 2013 amendments were passed, the public conversation focused on protection from discrimination. What received far less attention was what would happen when protected rights appeared to be conflictive. For years, those tensions remained largely hidden. Then women's sport became one of the first major testing grounds. As sporting organisations opted policies influenced by changing legal and cultural expectations, questions began emerging about female categories, fairness, safety and biological differences. Many remained silent. Others assumed governing bodies had already solved the problem. Kirralie Smith reached a different conclusion. She publicly questioned whether biological sex still carried meaningful authority within female sporting categories. And what followed transformed a policy disagreement into a national dispute. Supporters viewed her actions as advocacy for women and girls. Critics viewed her actions as harmful opposition to transgender inclusion. And suddenly the debate was no longer merely about sport. It became a conflict over language, definitions, identity, rights, public criticism, and the limits of acceptable disagreement. Kirralie Smith found herself positioned between two powerful forces. On one side stood a legal framework increasingly recognising gender identity as a protected characteristic. On the other stood women arguing that sex-based protections were being weakened in practice. And the result was a collision neither side appeared willing to surrender. What began as questions about female sporting categories became a broader struggle over who gets to define reality, who controls public language, and whether citizens may challenge institutional decisions without facing consequences. Kirralie Smith did not create the conflict. She became one of the most visible figures, standing at the point where competing rights, competing definitions, and competing visions of society collided. In the next episode, we'll look at when women's sport became the battleground Parliament never anticipated.